away first by WE. LYN deciding to take Kalista off the table immediately.
Now, it's quite fascinating that WE would be the ones to ban Alistar, because during their playoffs and during the Gauntlet, they put a lot of emphasis on getting Ben this playmaking support in the form of Alistar. It was a very big focal point for them, which they're now taking off the board. So it now makes you wonder, do champions like Tristana, Xayah, Rakan all raise in priority? And even after the small nerfs Rakan did have, I still feel like the duo combo of Xayah and Rakan is still a very prevalent bottom lane.
Well, Tristana, you mentioned, also going to be banned away now by WE. LYN deciding to remove Sejuani and Jarvan from the pool of available champions, two of those big initiators. We know they like to get tanky, like to get in there and get things going for their teams, but they will not be doing that today. Xayah picked up by WE, first pick of the tournament.
So in terms of the meta right now, things are looking very stable, not a huge big shift. The only real surprise may be this Rek'Sai ban from the side of WE. But with the early lock-in from Xayah, you're already setting us up for a very powerful bottom lane for WE. Something like a Thresh would be lovely to complement that. And LYN, they're already responding. They're going to play a little bit more defensively, locking themselves in an early Braum.
Braum locked in for LYN means they're going to have that support power down there, that disengage ability. Can be manipulated and abused a little bit by certain ranged supports, but we'll have to see how that ends up playing out as they also grab themselves even more tank ability, Maokai grab.
So they're already building themselves this strong team fighting setup. The Maokai can flex to both top and jungle. And we talked a little about how Oddie, he has been struggling a little bit in the meta, but the thing about Maokai is not exactly the most complex champion in order to succeed on, right? He can be that early game impact, but he's always going to have that mid to late game value with the crowd control and teamfight prowess that he will offer alongside Braum.
And the response to that, they're saying, hey, you want to draft a big front line? Well, we are going to draft literally the biggest champion in League of Legends. WE going to pick up Cho'Gath for themselves. Now thinking about exactly what they want to complement that with before we get into the next part of the bans. One pick left here for the LPL representatives to go with. Thinking about this Janna for a long time, and they will lock that one in.
So, as you rightly identified, going for a little bit more of a range support. The Ardent Sensor that we have been seeing, again, a small change to Ardent Sensor. It's now flat values rather than scaling throughout levels, which means it just gives you an immediate impact, and it's not going to get even more terrifying, but it's still a strong item. Yeah,
it's still a ridiculously powerful item, Vedius. We've seen what it can do and exactly how the meta has shaped and bent around it in recent times, and we are going to see LYN Gaming pick up Kog'Maw for themselves there in the bottom lane. Heading into the second part of the bans, they'll also take LeBlanc off the table.
Now remember, one of the big people that we talked about for LYN was this White Lotus player. He's one of the main carries of the team, and right now he's being put on the Kog'Maw, and as we all know, Kog'Maw is someone that in the late game you can just rely on to beat that big hyper carry. So with a Braum, with a Maokai, you can see LYN starting to build a composition around White Lotus to set him up for success. Now the thing that LYN tend to do is they'll usually pick more towards comfort rather than, say, the traditional meta that you would expect. And what I would normally say is here, Saya would go for something a little bit more aggressive. He's about trying to dominate his own lane, and that means Oddie has a few more options where he wants to play around. But with a LeBlanc ban, perhaps LYN have shifted up their style of focus, and maybe they're going to go all in on White Lotus.
One more ban left to go for each side, seeing exactly how they want to finish shaping this champion select. Galio banned away by LYN, so taking off that big, tanky frontliner, as well as the ability to support from such a long way away, utilizing the power of the hero's engine.
I feel like Orianna is the key pick right now for LYN. Strong laner, provides great utility, can be both defensive and offensive with regards to Kog'Maw, and it will give you that additional bit of damage if Kog'Maw is not off to the rolling start that you would like him to have during the early lane phase.
Well, we're into that last part of the picks here. Both the Shen and the Karma taken off the board by Team WE, so preventing some of that protect the Kog'Maw classic composition that might have been the idea there for LYN. But now LYN still has plenty of options left to go. You said you're potentially expecting to see something like an Orianna here, but Syndra is what LYN decides to lock in as their mid lane.
Now, the thing that I love about Syndra is her ability to set up ganks. The QE combo, the stun, makes it so easy for a jungler to just walk in, get the follow-up CC, a level 6 Syndra hits you with an ulti, boom, that's a very quick kill. You then gain pressure in the mid lane. Yes, it's not as good at peeling for your AD carry, but we go back to what we were talking about with Saya as a player. He likes to be a carry too, he likes to be a playmaker. He's a 9-time champion regionally, and he wants to prove that he can compete with GA on an international stage.
Gragas, the 4th pick, locked in here for WE. More frontline capability for these guys, more initiation potential. We know how much a well-placed explosive cast can do to completely change a game or change a team fight. The ability to separate multiple targets, the ability to pick someone off like that can go a long way. Let's see if WE can execute on that one the way they want to, as they also lock in Corky, 5th and final pick.
So, Team WE, they're going for a bit of a... I'd say that the big thing I can see about Team WE's comp right now is they have no reliable way to engage. Yes, you have the Gragas, but remember, on 718, he has had a slight nerf to the hitbox on his E and his engage power, which means that, especially when you're going up against things like a Braum and a Maokai and a LYN as well.
There we go, Vedius. That's what you were talking about. Mentioning how with the nerfs to the Cinderhulk, maybe the drift away from those tanky junglers, and especially with the LYN buffs recently on 7.18, we might get to see Adi on those playmakers.
Oh, this makes me so excited, Captain Fast. But let's just focus in on WE, because we were talking about how their main and only engage really is the Gragas or a potential flank coming out from the Cho'Gath. But aside from that, you're very much about sieging, poking. You have the Corki, you have the Xayah, and in these late game fights, it's all just going to be about who can kill the enemy front line sooner. Because you have the Kog'Maw going up against the Cho'Gath and the Gragas, and then you have the Corki and the Xayah going up against the Maokai and the Braum. The big difference is going to be LYN and this mid-jungle duo, Syndra Lee. So much potential for snowballing that mid lane. We talked about how they could play around White Lotus, but I think their attention is going to shift a little bit more in this game.
And you've also got to be a little bit concerned, or at least aware, if you're the Cho'Gath in this situation. I mean, what is the traditional weakness of picking this Cho'Gath? Even when everybody was saying, wow, this champion is so strong, people were saying, yeah, you're really great, but you're really vulnerable during the laning phase. People can gank you, they can set you behind, and if you're up against somebody with great setup CC like a Maokai and a easily executable ganker like a LYN, there might be possibility up there as well. Sky's the limit for Adi in this game. You said it yourself, this is the guy who's going to carry. If this team will win, let's see if he can do it.
I'm excited, Captain Flies. It's the first game of the World Championship, Team WE versus LYN Gaming. Adi is playing an early game carry jungler, Saya on the Syndra, and Team WE, they're going for a little bit more of a reserved competition. They're going to be looking to just play the slow early game, and Condi, his goal is going to be just trying to stop Adi from getting that snowball roll.
Right, keep that LYN under control. Don't allow the early gank machine to get up and running the way that it wants to. And Condi, this is a guy who is seen by many as one of the best, if not strictly the best jungler in the LPL. People say that this guy is absolutely amazing. Jay going to take a little bit of damage here. But Ghost also used by Saya. I don't know if that was a misclick or something, but you did hear the sound go off there. The summoner spell is going to be down momentarily, so gonna have to wait a couple of minutes before that one comes back online. But you do want to keep your eyes on Condi. You do want to keep your eyes on Adi, because a lot of the time for Team WE, Condi's performance and exactly where he decides to go and what he decides to do, that determines whether or not they're playing a game aggressively or just on the back foot.
Exactly that. A lot of the team's playstyle is very much dictated by how Condi decides to play the early game. Is he going to look to try and get some kind of early snowball, or is he going to look to just focus on farming, providing assistant pressure, setting up vision? And when you look at the comp of LYN, it's pretty obvious where Adi's looking to go, right? It's very clearly the Syndra. So his focus should be, okay, I need to get wards around the middle lane. I need to get an early control ward on the river. I need to make sure that my mid lane is properly supported. The fact that Jie doesn't have cleanse could be something to exploit later on into the game, but we'll see how things progress. Because the thing about Team WE is they are a very well-rounded team. They seem to have no obvious weaknesses. They can play early game snowballing, or they can play late game team fighting. The one area that I feel that they are weak against is when they get put behind early. Largely because they just play reserve. They play back. They wait for an opportunity later on into the game, whether it be maybe playing around the Baron, maybe playing around the Elder Drake, or just waiting for that slight mistake to come out from their opposition that they can look to punish. But if their opponent doesn't make any mistakes, if their opponent just slowly pushes their advantage further and further, Team WE just concede the map. They just give the freedom to their opposition to do whatever they want. And when you look back against their series versus RNG, RNG had their cleanest games thanks to that early game lead that they got. So it's going to be very important for LYN to be able to find that early lead if they want a shot against Team WE.
Yeah, Team WE, they have a fairly low average game time if you're looking at the stats of the different teams here at Worlds. And you would contribute that to exactly what you were talking about. If they're ahead, they're going to snowball, they're going to do well, they're going to win the game. If they're behind, they won't take that many actions. It's not like they're going to turn this into a bloodbath and they'll just let it go. But now, some damage onto GA here in the mid lane. Saya, not a lot of mana to continue fighting this one, but we'll take him down low. Doesn't have an Ignite as a summoner spell there, so won't look to go any further for now. Audi potentially thinking about showing up in here. GA is vulnerable. Both summoner spells available. Audi jumping in. Sonic Wave not going to find the mark. GA just casually sidestepping that.
You've also got to keep your eyes on Condi. He is very aware of where Audi is. He was stealing away some of the Raptors, but there was a ward on there reading the play. Now Audi and Condi just going to butt heads and make way. So Audi not able to find any early success as of yet, but there's still plenty of the early game left to go. Condi doing his best to try and punish as a collapse happens down on the Lion jungler.
Condi looking for Audi yet again. 957 making the rotation around here as well. He did shove the top lane into the turret there against Giral, so not really losing a lot of anything at this point in time. Heal going to be spended there for the Ghost in mid lane. Saya's Ghost for the heal of GA. Means both of these mid laners now only have the flashes ready to go. Audi still hanging around. Condi still hanging around. Audi comes over the wall, utilizing the safeguard, finds Condi. Sonic Wave lands, Resonating Strike not going to be going in.
They're not going to commit. They don't want to run the risk just yet. GA is fairly low, but Condi, he has that slight health advantage in the early game. It's going to force Audi back. So junglers return. Vision will spot Condi out once more. And Giral, he's coming for the collapse.
Giral is going to go ahead, prime this situation with that enchanted sapling into the brush. Make sure he gets extra damage should they decide to fight in this area. 957 just walking himself right back up here into the top lane. And I mentioned how the Cho'Gath is vulnerable to ganks early, but if he does not get ganked, if he does not get pressured, he's very annoying to deal with. He can shove the lane very easily. He's got plenty of AoE. Audi now trying to smite to get his HP back. Condi walking back up in his face yet again. Condi just trying to get himself involved in as much as possible early.
So we've been talking a lot about the junglers in this early part of the game, Flowers, but we've also got to take a look at some of the other lanes, like down in the bottom, Mystic. He was able to get an early back thanks to the pressure that they had put down onto the Kog'Maw and the Braum. And we talked a little bit about in the champs, like going for an early Braum from the side of LYN. Very defensive support playstyle. They want to make sure that they have that peel for White Lotus, along with providing that overall frontline for the composition. But he struggles during the laning phase. Janna and Xayah, they're a very powerful duo, especially when you have that additional range support. And you get shielded, you get that bonus AD, things just get a little bit awkward for the Kog'Maw. So thanks to that early push, they were able to get an early back, but they weren't able to actually afford a pickaxe, which means that he's now only sitting on the double longsword, which means that he's likely going to go for a very early Essence Reaver, very likely an early Core Fields to get that early bit of AD and cooldown reduction.
Meanwhile, White Lotus on his first back, going to go ahead, grab himself the Berserker Greaves, a lot of extra attack speed, extra movement speed as well to escape any difficult situations or run down someone if they find themselves in a lead. Saya hitting level 6 now on the Syndra. You were talking about how you wanted to see focus on this mid lane from LYN Gaming, see if they can make something happen there. Once Syndra has that ulti, that's just that much more of a green light for these guys to look for that.
And remember, the heal is down. Keep your eyes on Audi gaining vision control around the bottom half of the map. Ideally, he wants to just drop a ward around the Raptors so that he can prepare for a possible counter gank from Condi. But he is afraid right now. He doesn't feel confident enough to try and make that sort of play. And WWE, they're reading exactly where Audi is on the map. You got to remember, Condi, he is this kind of jungler that knows how to play that early game style himself. He's very cognizant of what Audi is trying to do, and I feel like that he is reading his enemy jungler fairly well so far in this early game.
Has done a good job so far preventing Audi from getting anything done. You saw him following him around both the mid lane and the top lane before. Mystic and Ben shove their opponents up underneath the turret down here in the bottom side. And remember, LYN Gaming, this is a team that in their own region, 9 championships back to back to back. I'm not going to repeat it 9 different times, but you get the idea. These guys win all the time. And a big reason they do that is because they are simply better than their opponents when it comes to laning, when it comes to individual player talent. So going up against WE here, doing a good job so far, staying relatively even, but falling slightly behind in farm in the bottom and top lanes with a lead for themselves there in mid.
The big thing about LYN, though, that I've seen in particular over the last split is that they're no longer reliant on having that early game snowball advantage that they have been so dominant with over several seasons because of the shift in the meta, as we talked about during Champions. Like, that means that they've improved their ability to play the map. They understand better how to use pressure in terms of lanes. They know when they should set deep wards. They're much smarter about when they choose to pick fights, and because they've been forced to adapt, that has allowed the team to grow. But the issue is that so far within their region, there is yet to be a team that can truly challenge this superstar lineup domestically. And that's where we see the opportunity for more growth when they come to these international events. Because remember, LYN, they went 4-2 in their group at MSI, but they ended up dropping to the Gigabyte Marines, who ended up representing their region exceptionally well during the group stages at MSI. But they seem to have learned from that. And from hearing from the players, they really want to prove to themselves that they can go up against WE, but for WE, they're just the clear favorites in their group. Some even argue that this is the best team representative from the LPL.
Which is interesting, right? Because you don't expect, when you're sending 3 representatives to Worlds, one of those representatives has to play during the play-in stage, the other 2 did not. You're not expecting the one that has to play during play-ins to be the one that people are favoring.
Exactly.
But, like we've talked about, WE, a fan-favorite team, a team that a lot of people have a lot of faith in, star players in both Mystic and Condi. Right now, still no kills on the board yet. About 9 minutes into the game. Package is armed and ready on GA. Has that one if he sees the opportunity to use it.
And all summoner spells are back up now. The big difference is that Gerald will have his TP earlier sooner, which means that LYN could try and make a TP play somewhere, but with the amount of push that 957 has over his top lane counterpart, it becomes awkward to try and make a TP play in the bottom side, unless there's some kind of jungle assistance from Audi up in the top lane.
Speaking of Audi, I want to jump back real quick to what you were talking about, specifically in Champion Select, and at the start of the game, the very beginning of Summoner's Rift, before that base portal ever even fell, you said Condi wants to contain Audi this game. He wants to shut that down, not allow him to do anything, and considering his score is 0, 0, and 0 right now, it looks like he's done a pretty good job.
But also just keep an eye on the wards as well. They know exactly where Audi is in the jungle. They're going to be the ones to start this Drake. And remember, Gerald, he has TP up, and 957 does not.
The collapse is coming in. This is going to be a showdown as it is secured by Condi and Team WE. Mystic trying to get himself away, utilizing the ulti for that one. Explosive cast going to be coming out from Condi as now he finds himself rooted up, locked down. And first blood of Worlds 2017 goes to LYN Gaming.
WE secured themselves the Ocean Drake, but because they did not have the teleport available from 957, they could not commit to the fight. Audi did a great job of singling out the AD carry of WE and forcing the one of the key damage dealers out of the fight very early on. Now, ZA, he wants to try and force Saya back, which he will successfully do. But remember who got that kill? Saya in the middle lane. He wants to get ahead in the early game, and by picking up this kill, it's a great way to start. So, Audi, you'd think that he wants to commit here, but he doesn't. His eyes are all on Mystic. He wants to shut him down, but unfortunately for him, his Q runs out as Mystic flashes away, and Condi gives away his life to guarantee the safety of his carries. The TP came through from Gerald as well, and while the top lane tower will take a fair amount of damage, LYN getting that first blood is going to be a big confidence booster coming into game 1.
They did get the first blood, but remember their opponents did secure the Ocean Drake, and this early into the match, that can do a lot for you, making sure that you're able to stay sustained in those lanes, have your health and mana bars a little bit more topped off, and just look at the gold, Vedius. Even though 600 gold's worth of first blood money went to LYN Gaming, WE is still in the lead.
Yeah, and I feel like a fair amount of that is due to the difference up in the top lane. You can see a slight 300 advantage going in the favor of 957. But also, the biggest disparity is coming from the supports.
Yep.
Funnily enough, when you play that Ardent Sensor support, one of the big things that people say is the reason why it's so strong and so easy to get is because of Coin. Coin gets you a lot of sustain during the laning phase, but also just gets you a lot of gold. And there were a lot of discussions around, are we going to see the barrier heal in the bottom lane to get the Ardent Sensor even faster, along with the Relic Shield sort of build. But right now, he's doing a perfectly fine job. He's well on track to get that early Ardent Sensor. And the thing is, it gives Mystic a much stronger early game power spike. So once GA completes his Trinity Force, and once Mystic completes the Essence Reaver along with an Ardent Sensor, WE are going to say, we're actually quite happy to fight right now because our top lane tank is good, our 2 carries can do damage, and so far, LYN have not been able to get the sort of early snowballing that they initially wanted.
Exactly. When you compare the gold between these two supports, even though the farm between the AD carries is relatively even, as now we've got a fight breaking out. Exhaust down onto White Lotus, root out onto Genfix. Stun comes down onto Mystic as he continues pressing this forward. Minion wave going to find itself being slammed into the tier 1 turret here as Condi shows up to continue to scare these guys back. 957 teleport is available. Gerald does not have his. Tornado flies off, and LYN will hold the line for now.
We also saw Jie moving through the river, and we have to come back to this vision control that is in favor of WE. They have lit up the bottom side of the map with just blue wards. They have control wards in the river and the entrances. They make sure they have control over the scuttle crab, and they're all about getting this early bottom tower. LYN are really struggling to find an answer, and they're just going to have to concede.
Yep, Team WE going for that objective-based gameplay. They're saying, you can have first blood, we're going to take the first turret instead. Ending up getting the for themselves, hanging around, clearing away as many minions as possible, letting the turret eat up as much of that value as they can before taking it down, and that will bring WE up to a greater than 1,000 gold lead here 13 minutes into the game.
So now, you would expect both the Ardent Sensor and the Essence View to be completed for WE. Jie is on track to complete his Trinity Force, and everything is looking very positive for WE. We're yet to see Oddie have the level of impact that we wanted to see after himself picking up this Lee Sin. Lee Sin did have a few minor buffs to his shield, particularly in the early game, making his trading and skirmishing that little bit stronger, and combined with the Cinderhulk nerfs, tanks are a little bit weaker, but Conley's just controlled him through vision. He's made sure to get deep wards and defensive wards to be able to track what Oddie is doing, and as a result, the rest of WE have been able to respond accordingly, and Oddie just has not been able to find success as of yet.
Oddie's still looking to make some kind of a play on this Lee Sin. Flash nearly back up, has the Dragon's Rage available too. With those spells both up and running, you will be able to see a lot of playmaking potential out of this champion. Giral hanging out up here, firing off the ulti against Mystic and Ben just as a zoning tool to clear these guys away and provide an opportunity for LYN Gaming to grab the bottom tier 1 turret against their opponents. 957, the only man standing down here trying to stop this one. Nothing he can do except throw a Rupture in there and walk away as LYN Gaming ties the turret count.
Love the play from Giral there, because he realizes that WE are much faster on the play. They're already at the tier 1 in the top lane, and LYN were yet to really get significant damage down onto that bottom tier 1 tower. So by clearing out the wave, by sacrificing his ulti, he allows LYN to clear it out, and now they can start moving up to challenge this Rift Herald, so LYN can try and stop WE from just running away with the map.
Problem with trying to stop this, though, you have to remember that Jie does have the package available. TP also going to be used by 957 here, but the rest of LYN looking to collapse onto him. Rift Herald still going to be taken down. 957 caught out alone. Going to be juggled around as package comes in through Jie. Going to go over the red buff wall. 2 roots down onto the remaining members of LYN in the top side. They get separated, and Audi goes down. Jie going to be forced to flash away from that one, escaping the stun from the Scatter of the Weak as WE gets themselves out. It's a 1-for-1, but they found the Rift Herald.
So it looks like an even fight, but WE are the team to walk away with the Rift Herald. Another advantage gain, and now their eyes are straight onto this mid lane tier 1. White Lotus has gone back to base. They don't even need to use the objective as they hammer down onto the final outer tower from LYN.
A little bit more damage coming through there. Stun finds its way onto Mystic, but he's still got his Janna nearby, keeping him safe. Infernal Drake has spawned. This is always that highly contested neutral objective that nobody wants to give away for free. TP going to be used by Giral. He will have the ultimate up momentarily for this fight. Condi still looking to burn that Infernal Drake down. Is going to be secured by Team WE. Mystic going to be kept alive. An extra moment by Ben. Does get himself away. Genthix and the rest of LYN still looking to close in on these guys as the Cat Cavalry arrives. The root comes down onto Ben. He's going to be stunned up yet again. The damage comes through. White Lotus going to be grabbing that one as the artillery will find the double kill for White Lotus.
LYN are finding all of these kills onto Team WE, but they're not translating into objectives. They have a minion wave in the bottom lane. They have 5 members. You have Oddie flanking from the side. They could finally look to get themselves another tower as WE falls short.
LYN wanting to pull the trigger here, but 957 holding the line with the Ruptures and the Screams. Gonna keep these guys away for now. White Lotus taking an extra tower shot on his way out, and LYN is going to be stopped. Exactly what you said, Vedius. They find the fights, they find the victories there, but where's the prize?
Exactly that. WE are just so objective focused in this game. They realize that at this point in the game, before they'd been able to spend their gold, they are not strong enough to win that 5v5 fight. So they just want to take as many objectives off the board as they can. They've done a great job with the early towers. And here, perhaps they got a little bit too greedy for the Drake. But initially, things look very good. Mystic is able to, thanks to the ultimate from Ben, back away, uses the Blade Caller to just buy a little bit more time, but the Maokai ulti, you're in Maokai's territory, he locks you up. The double stun coming out from Seiya as well allows White Lotus to just catch up and rain hell from above, allowing this Kog'Maw to now pick up 2 kills. And just look at who's got the gold on the side of LYN right now, Flowers, because that is a 1-0-2 Syndra, a 2-0-2 Kog'Maw. Rageblade, Morello, now completed for LYN's 2 main hyper carries. LYN are setting themselves up for success. They have gold on the people that they rely on to succeed, but WE are still in control of the map. They have more towers, they have more overall gold, and their composition is still scaling just as they would like.
Team WE with that 2,000 gold lead now, pushing up into the jungle of LYN Gaming, wanting to get down some vision. Instead, Mystic losing about half his HP nearly instantly. The damage coming out there from Saya, like you said, with that Morello Namicon completed along with the Sorcerer's Shoes. He's a serious damage threat with these squishy carries on the side of Team WE. Have to see what WE can do with the rest of this lead. They have been playing the better objective game so far, but they do have to worry about that Rageblade Kog'Maw that you mentioned.
But just to give some context, this whole goal lead is entirely on the supports. Mid, AD, top, and jungle are all so even. It is all about that Janna and how much of a gold advantage she has over Gentex, which means that coming into these next 2 fights, these teams are still very even though the gold lead does not suggest that. And that just makes this so exciting. The fact that LYN, the clear underdogs in this first game of the World Championship, are so far holding their own in terms of the fights. But WE truly turns on in the late game fights. That is what they're known for within their region. That is what they've been able to dominate so many other teams with, and it is Mystic, the guy we highlighted at the very start. He is the main team fight prodigy that gives so much success to Team WE.
And we mentioned it earlier, talking about how Condi's early game performance is what determines the tempo of Team WE throughout the game. This isn't a team that was saying, okay, we need to get ahead of the Kog'Maw early. We've got to win earlier, the whole game's lost. This is a team that said, control Lee, scale, and wait.
Yep.
And right now, they're controlling Lee, they're scaling, and they're waiting.
Exactly. And you look at things like their Baron taking potential. The thing about Cho'Gath, an extra smite is always handy when playing around the big purple worm. You have double AD carry in Corki and Xayah. This is a fast Baron taking team, and even with his brand new shiny armor, it's not going to be enough to deal with when this team just decides to commit to that objective. And it's going to be the onus on LYN to make sure that they don't lose control around that Baron, because right now the vision difference is stark in favor of WE.
At the same time, though, we can't count LYN out of this one. Like you said, impressive so far to see them going toe-to-toe with a team like WE. And they do have that 4-1 kill lead so far. They have been playing the fights well for themselves. Of course, those fights have been breaking out because WE is starting off on the objective. LYN has been closing in, catching them between both the LYN Gaming team and the objective that WE has already started. But we may have to see how that story changes if these guys get in just a straight-up 5v5 brawl.
And now we're getting to a point where we can truly assess how good LYN is at being able to control these sideways. How good is their vision control? Because a team like WE is already known that they understand how to play the map. They understand how to play macro. And one of the big criticisms for LYN in the past was that they're just a team that relies on mechanical skill and just being better than their opponents. But they can't rely on that anymore. They need to show more than that. And what we're seeing so far is that they're still being pushed back by WE. They're still giving a lot of freedom to WE. They're a little bit too afraid right now to pull the trigger, but that Kog'Maw is on track to completing his second item. They still have decent vision control around their own entrances, and they have a spot of vision on the Baron itself, along with the main mid lane area. So LYN, their focus for now is just setting up more of a defensive approach rather than we want to try and be the ones to make the next play.
And I really want to bring attention to White Lotus specifically. You mentioned how the Kog'Maw 2-0-2, he's 100% kill participation so far. We talked about how good this guy is as a player. And going up against Mystic, that is not the easy matchup to say, oh, look at how good of a player I am. This is the guy that, remember when Mark and Zyrene and Dracos were talking at the start of this about how Mystic might be the best player in the entirety of play-ins. And White Lotus is going toe-to-toe with this guy. He's the only one on his team who's winning in CS comparison right now. 100% kill participation, like I already mentioned. He might just be able to step up this game and be that carry.
And with both teams just grouping up as a 5-man in mid, you can just keep your eyes on draw on the bottom. Look at this ward that's in the middle lane, right there at the edge next to Sire. That could be a huge flanking ward as WE and the squad try to push up into the middle lane, giving LYN that opportunity to force a fight. But WE, they pull back. They don't overcommit to the middle lane. Their eyes are on this potential third Drake, setting up for the Elder. As WE, they're looking for the fight. Righteous Glory pop.
Righteous Glory used by 957, looking to go in, finding the silence onto 2. Knock up landing there onto Audi. Condi looking to find his way into the side of the fight there. Giral makes his way in, gonna go ahead and fire off the ultimate. 957 caught out here a little bit. That Cho'Gath is gonna be the first target. Bursted down. Nye immediately, Audi grabbing the kill onto him as now White Lotus having to back away. The Featherstorm comes down, the stun, finding its way onto Jie as Giral continues to tank here in the front line. LYN in retreat. They're going to lose one as White Lotus now exhausted, but a massive scat of the week will find multiple targets, and WE will be sent home on their back feet.
And that was the playmaker we were talking about. Seiya in the middle lane, utilizing this Syndra to punish WE as they commit a little bit too hard. Captain Flowers, they have 4 members left alive. Their eyes are on a 23-minute Baron against WE. Things are looking great for the Latin American North representatives.
Their health bars are low. This is a risky take, Medius. I think they might not be able to clear it. Audi has to jump back in to safeguard Genthix, and they have to disengage. They can't secure the Baron.
Unfortunate for LYN, but still a big team fight win for them. You can hear the crowd getting so excited about these close fights. WE, they still have the gold lead, but remember, a lot of that is on the support. And the fact that LYN were able to turn around that fight is so good. So WE commit hard. They want to force this fight, but they cannot successfully get onto White Lotus, and that allows the front line to come into effect. Giral soaks up a lot of the initial damage. You can see Audi here as well with a fantastic kick onto Mystic, but there's no follow-up damage. Say he doesn't want to commit. And then you have to see so much damage being sent onto the back line of LYN. Giral falls as well. And you're now at this point where it's 1-for-1. LYN are on the back foot, but then a great 3-man stun with the follow-up damage from White Lotus allows them to get the turnaround fight in their favor, but they just don't have the HP to get the big purple worm, and it ends up in just a neutral standstill between the two.
And look at the damage comparison from that last team fight. Nearly 5,500 damage from Seiya's Syndra to be the highest scoring member in that fight. Really doing a lot of work for this team.
And this is one of the things that I was so excited about coming into this tournament, Flowers, because I feel like right now, in the current meta, has the greatest potential for upsets because of how much the game revolves around team fighting. And you can say a lot about macro and your ability to play sideways, but when you look at just the raw talent, LYN are going head-to-head with Team WE. They are holding their own in these fights. And it just goes to show that one bad team fight from WE can give such a massive swing of momentum in the favor of LYN, but the same is true for the other side. WE, known for their ability to team fight, is resulting in these very close back and forth exchanges.
Want to go ahead and update. We are hitting those 2-item power spikes for a lot of people now. Righteous Glory done for Jiral's Maokai, along with the Spirit Visage from earlier. Knight's Vow now completed onto Condi's Gragas, so he'll have that much extra protection for these carries. Rapid Fire plus the Trinity Force for Jie's Corki means much more poke damage as well. Runan's Hurricane completed a little while back for White Lotus's Kog'Maw, actually, for that team fight damage, as now he'll be looking to solo down this Cloud Drake, get a little bit of extra movement speed for his team.
Fun fact for any players at home that are struggling to deal with Kog'Maw, Adaptive Helm, really good item, especially against Rageblade Kog'Maw, because even though his W does percentage health damage, it's actually magic damage, which means that when you build an Adaptive Helm, each one of those empowered autos, that damage gets reduced, especially with a Rageblade, which gives you more AP. It is very effective at shutting down a mid-game Kog'Maw. But so far, we're not seeing any early Adaptive Helms. They're just trying to focus on...
Well, we've got one, but it's on his team.
Yeah, exactly that. I think we're going to get another fight soon, Flowers.
Baron is up, remember, was not secured earlier. Silence down onto Giral, who's going to be taking a lot of damage and bursted down by the power of the Cho'Gath ultimate. WE finding themselves 1 for free. Ultimate coming out from Mystic there as they continue to chase now onto Genthix, who's going to find himself knocked back by the explosive cast. 2 for 0, Team WE finding a vulnerability in LYN and punishing immediately.
Exactly that. LYN dropped the ball and WE immediately punished. They identified Giral just alone in the river. Seiya, he was in the top side of the river and they spotted him out thanks to that control ward that they have further up on the side of the map. They get the immediate punish, they take out the tank, but they're not going to yet commit to that Baron.
They got rid of the top laner, they got rid of the support, but the jungler is still up. WE does not want to run that risk of potentially having the Baron stolen away, giving an opportunity for Seiya and White Lotus to jump in there and pour damage into the WE lines as they make the Baron, so they'll just go for the safe option instead. Their gold lead has grown to about 3,000 now. Despite the fact that they have not been ahead in this game in terms of kills ever, they are maintaining the gold lead through strict superior objective control and patience.
Exactly that, Flowers. Right now, they have been controlling the map so much better than LYN, even though LYN have been finding a lot of great fights and a lot of kills. The important thing to remember is that this dual AD carry is going to be extremely threatening when it comes to killing that front line later into the game. Remember what we talked about in Champion Select. It's very much in these late game fights about which front line drops faster. And when you have double AD carries on 3 items, funnily enough, they do quite a lot of damage. And sure, you can say the same for Kog'Maw, but Syndra, she struggles a little bit, especially once that magic resistance really starts stacking for both the Cho'Gath and the Gragas too. So the later this game goes, the harder things are going to get for LYN to really win out these team fights. And WE, they know this. They're putting the pressure on LYN, and they're saying, come on, make your play, make your move. And so far, LYN have done a decent job at making things work in their favor, but they're yet to really translate it into a significant map game.
LYN recognizing the WE is trying to set up some kind of a play around the Baron here. Audi getting himself back. Seiya popping the scout of the week. Not going to be finding anything with it. The burst coming down onto Audi as 957 going to be tanking all the damage. And White Lotus will seal his fate. Audi now having to retreat away from Team WE's collapse. Gentex on the front line here. This will likely just be a 1-for-1 trade unless Audi has some massively fancy feet to get away from this one. The juke boots are on, but I don't think they are going to be.
He's still running.
No, he's still trying it, but that last rocket from GA takes him down.
But this is still fine because WE don't find a significant team fight win. They give up pressure in the mid lane, allowing LYN to get onto this tower, and it ends up only being a 1-for-1 trade, so LYN end up coming out ahead in that play that WE tried to force.
Ben nearly taken down by White Lotus, going to be forced to flash out from that one with just under 100 HP remaining. White Lotus's damage, honestly, when 957 was in the jungle zoning this entire team away, he's got his stone plate on, his flex is up and running, and he just gets eviscerated.
White Lotus is just doing so much work for his team. Got put on the Kog'Maw. We thought he was going to be one of the big carries for the team, and he's just been farming away, picking up these kills, yet to die in this first match. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, this is only a best of 1. This is the group stages of the play-ins. All these teams only play 4 games, and a win here could mean a lot.
WE deciding to pull the trigger onto Baron now. LYN needs to close in and do something. Baron down below 1/4 HP, going to be secured here likely by Condi. Secured instead by 957 is now. WE might find themselves caught between a rock and a hard place. Giral on the front line. Is Condi going to be potentially taken down next? Mystic trying to get himself away, but he's going to be picked off. It's 3-0 for LYN Gaming, but the Baron still up and running on the solo laners for WE.
WE, they knew they had the Cho'Gath. They knew they could secure the objective, along with the fact that Audi was dead, but LYN were in the better position to fight. The Kog'Maw was completely untouched, and Audi even got a flank onto Mystic. LYN, yes, they lose the Baron, but they are consistently winning these fights, Flowers. This game is still so close, and I could not think of a better way to kick off the World Championship.
This is one hell of a kickoff between these two teams. LYN Gaming from the LLN going blow for blow with Team WE from the LPL. One more look at the Baron fight.
So Audi just gets there a little bit too late, but WE, they're forced in the back of the pit, and they're just trying to disengage, while the rest of LYN, they're just focusing down the front line. Then they're like, oh, your front line is retreating. That means I'll just hit the AD carry into the front line and make him the primary target for White Lotus. 6-0-5 on the Latin American North superstar right now. He's completed his 3rd item, working on his 4th. And we talked about how things are going to get hard for LYN in the late game. Well, if things keep fighting, if fights keep going this way for LYN, they're not going to struggle at all.
Now let's keep in mind, Baron is still up and running on both GA and 957. So they will have that for another 2 minutes to potentially utilize as a pushing tool against LYN Gaming. And WE has been good at controlling objectives so far. It'll be up to LYN to stop that and find an opportunity to do another one of these immaculate team fights that they have showcased so far. the time being, though, they're on the retreat as WE controls the area around this next Drake. It will be yet another Infernal. Maokai ultimate going to be fired off, seeing who they can potentially catch out here. Kondi going to be rooted up by the very edge of one of those cats, White Lotus. Taking a lot of damage early on, but not as much as Kondi. A rampage for Seiya. 957 now going to be stunned up, bursted down before he can do a whole lot of anything. Seiya grabbing himself the double kill. They managed to take Ben down as well. Audi nearly going to be killed, does get taken down. White Lotus attacking the Infernal Drake. Stunned down onto Jie, both damage dealers still active for Team WE. Giral trying to zone these guys away. Seiya also going to be on point, secured the Infernal Drake for Lion.
You're now starting to see the issue with WE's composition with their inability to reliably start fights. Because you have a Braum and a Maokai just sitting on the front line, Kondi has no reliable way to just pick a focused target that he wants to knock into the rest of his team. That means that WE, every time a fight starts, it's actually on Lion's terms. It is always them that are kicking off these fights, and it's always in their favor. So Kondi gets separated from the rest of his team. They realize that, oh, well, we want to focus down the front line anyway, so we may as well just kill him. Braum is then just dealing with the other 4 members, and then Lion turn their attention. Now, this is where you start to look at Mystic, and you realize how effective this guy can be when he's put in a position to carry. Landing feathers onto the right targets, making sure that he's still dealing damage in order to make sure that things don't fall apart for the side of WE. But that's still another big team fight win for the side of Lion Gaming.
More good fighting from Lion Gaming. This team seriously looking to impress here in game number 1 of Worlds 2017. 1,000 gold behind Team WE. Behind the team that everybody said, this is the team that you don't have to worry about in play-ins. Like, this is the team, a lot of people were expecting these guys to go really far, even in the main event, past the play-ins. But right now, Lion Gaming is looking like they might be a serious threat to WE starting off strong.
And that's why this meta is so great for these regions that in the past you wouldn't be really expect to be able to challenge some of these top teams, because it all eventually just boils down to these fights. These fights are just so important, and the mechanical prowess of Audi, Seiya, White Lotus, the whole team is just keeping up with that of WE, a team that's praised for their team fighting prowess within the LPL region. And it's just so exciting to see these two teams butt heads, but it's still about can Lion close? Right. Because it's one thing to be able to win a lot of fights, but it's another to then translate that lead into a game win.
They have had a lot of good fights, though, so far, Vedius. We cannot say that enough. This team truly impressing in the actual PvP of League of Legends. 4 items, not including the boots, now completed on White Lotus. Blade of the Ruined King, all the way done, means he's going to have that much more HP shred against these front lines. And look at the build on the side of Kondi. He's got the adaptive helm you were talking about. He's got Cinder Hook and he's got Knight's Vow. But up against a Blade of the Ruined King Kog'Maw, that's a grand total of 40 armor. Wow. Because he's got Mercury Treads as well. That's not very effective.
No.
That's preventing the shred.
And there's no Locket yet complete on the side of WE to mitigate some of that Syndra Burst too. So sure, that's a fair amount of magic resistance, but at the same time, that Locket really helps mitigate the burst, especially onto someone like a Janna. If that Seiya just insta-kills the Janna, then suddenly you're losing the power of Art and Sensor. You're losing that same level of utility.
The carries on the side of Lion Gaming are a combined 12, 0, and 15. Wow. And as cool as the 12 and the 15 are, the big number in that lineup for me is the 0. Neither one of these two has died yet in this game.
And it's just because WE have no real backline threat. They just have to kill through the front line, and there's just so much disengage. There's so much ability for Lion to immediately peel back off. The WE really are struggling, and I feel like it's just because a lot of these fights have been WE forcing them. We have to remember that. Like, if we think to the mid lane fight, it was WE righteous glory from 957, flanking aim from Kondi. The fight ended up backfiring. Around the Dragon, it was WE starting off these Dragons, baiting Lion into these fights. The Baron, it was WE starting off the Baron and asking Lion to come and fight them. So Lion, they haven't needed to be proactive in trying to make any of these fights happen. They've just waited for WE to make the move, and then they've reactively been able to successfully punish them. They've been the ones in the better position. And WE just makes you wonder, did they need to make a lot of these fights happen? Did they need to push this as much as they have? Because now Lion are in a position where I would give the team fight advantage over to them in the current state of the game.
Well, the current state of the game also includes a 25-second timer before Baron Nashor respawns, as well as about 100 seconds until Elder Dragon rears his head for the first time this game. pretty even Drake count between the teams as well. 2 versus 2, an Infernal on both sides, and then Ocean as well as Cloud. As LYN setting up a potential trap here to send White Lotus out into the mid lane. Clearing out the wave, pushing that down with the artillery. And now they move towards Baron.
So for WM, still keeping my eyes on Mystic. How much of a team fight carry can he be? A lot of praise has gone towards this AD carry. Now's the moment to see if he can step up.
All right, they're just pulling the trigger. There is no waiting around on this one, Vedius. We are starting Baron Nashor up. LYN Gaming has it burned down to about 1/3 now. Condi looking to potentially contest this one. Ulti fired off by the Maokai. They're going to find their way onto 957 here at the start. Giral going to be taken very low. Condi now into the front line. LYN Gaming potentially in some trouble. Audi taking a lot of burst on this one as White Lotus now going to be caught out. Condi potentially finding his way there into the back line, but WE is very low. Jana keeping him alive.
Oh, these fights, man, they are so close, but now
on
WE.
a razor's edge, but WE has such a health advantage now. Mystic and GA both in fantastic condition.
TP?
Critical health from all of LYN, but the TP is canceled.
Cancelled? Oh, this is risky now. Flowers, I think they're going to lose the Baron.
They do. Baron secured by Team WE. That was awesome for these guys. They were able to win the fight. They were able to keep LYN away. They secure the objective.
This time it was LYN forcing the play. They were the ones to kick off the objective. The fight looked so good for them initially, but WE get the turnaround. They do not lose their tanky frontline. Cho'Gath does not end up dying. They almost kill White Lotus, but there was enough peel from Genthix and Giral to keep him alive. But because of all the low health members, they're the ones then to commit to the Baron. They have the TP on the Cho'Gath. He then rejoins the fight, and they take that Baron down. They now have their eyes set on the Elder Dragon too. They have 2 Drakes in their favor. Can LYN answer this big objective?
WE's got Baron up on all their members. They've also got the Corki package available. This is not something you want to run into if you're the side of LYN Gaming, and they will not contest this, but now they're staring down the barrel of 2 massive buffs up on WE at the same time for the next 2.5 minutes.
Oh, WE, they've come back with a surge. Their composition is very strong at this point in the game, and LYN, they're the ones on the back foot. They're the ones going to have to demonstrate if they can find another fantastic fight as WE looks to break into the base of LYN Gaming.
WE with nearly full builds on those carries as well. The damage threat is very real. They've got that 1 cannon minion boosted up by the power of the Baron buff, continuing to chip away at this tier 3 turret, waiting on that next minion wave. And then you will likely see these guys moving up, trying to break into this base of LYN Gaming.
Just keep your eyes on the top and bot lane as well. They don't have a wave yet from WE, so they only have the options of pushing in mid. LYN are doing a fine job defending, but that tower is slowly being chipped away.
More and more damage flying out. Remember, you get 135 true damage over 3 seconds from the Elder Dragon burn when you've got these 2 Elemental Drakes under your belt. Team WE in a good spot right now to continue this push, keep threatening onto this. That mid lane tier 3 now down to about 1/3 HP means the next wave could be the one where they decide to go all in. Then coming up right behind the rest of the team, GA on the front line pushing this one down, and WE will march straight into LYN's territory, kick in the front door, and take the inhibitor out with it.
So LYN recognize that, you know what, it's not the end of the world if we just lose our middle inhibitor. They have an Elder Dragon, they have Baron empowered minions, they have a gold advantage. Let's not risk losing the game right now. Let's just accept the losses, know that WE cannot punish us anywhere else, and we'll just try to come back later on. WE, they're in a great spot right now.
And how this game has shifted, Vedius. We were talking about how LYN looked stronger for the time being. The gold gap was slowly but surely closing. LYN looked like they were in the driver's seat. And then the Baron fight doesn't go their way. WE knows exactly how to play it to keep them away and make sure the situation goes their way. And with that Baron, they demonstrate the strength of this team in terms of taking whatever they can and translating that into huge leaps and bounds in terms of getting that lead bigger. And now it's a 7,000 gold difference.
Yeah, that's pretty significant. But at this point in the game where most of the players are nearing full items, you have to start looking at that gold and you're like, how much value does it actually have? The real value is going to come from these neutral objectives like the Elder Dragon and the Baron. And as long as LYN can stall out so they don't lose that much more, the next respawning of these big objectives is where things are really going to get tense. I feel like the next Baron spawn is going to be where the game is decided, because WE, they're going to struggle to really push onto these towers. They have a lot of poke from the Corki, but there's so much pick threat from the Syndra. The possibility of a flank from Oddie or Giral is always there. So LYN, they're a threat. They're just waiting to pounce an overextended WE.
A lot of pressure here on White Lotus and Seiya both to find the damage against this WE front line. The last fight, the fight at Baron, they weren't able to bring them down in time, and it allowed WE to turn things around and find that big momentum shift that we were just talking about. WE also, a lot of pressure on these guys. Remember, these are the hometown favorites. This is the team that all the fans out there are expecting these guys to run away with this, stop this game, win against these guys. And right now, they're looking like they're in a better and better spot as time ticks on to find that win. But they've still got to close it out. White Lotus taking a lot of damage from that single crit out of GA, returning a little bit of pain of his own, finding another living artillery there on the back end of that skirmish. Cask thrown up into the base gate. WE playing this one very slowly, very safely. You talked about how LYN didn't want to commit to any sort of a fight in their base against a Elder Drake Baroned up team, didn't want to take any excessive risks. WE not really wanting to do the same either in terms of structuring this push. Structure not finding its way onto White Lotus there. 957 going to be losing about half his HP. Syndra ulti used on Condi and barely even going to take off a quarter of his health. Not a lot of gain for a pretty large cooldown to have down. Mystic and GA are both feeling a lot safer.
Now look at the number of people that have just gone back from the side of LYN Game. Only White Lotus here, and he's afraid of getting engaged upon by Condi. So WE using this as an opportunity, along with the pushing wave in top and in mid. Their eyes are on this tier 3 tower in the bottom lane as they continue their push.
Palace been used by Ben there to speed the team up a little bit. Seiya popping the ghosts. LYN not finding their engage.
WE know that there's a big minion wave top, and they'll guarantee themselves that tower if they just keep the pressure up bot. They're now utilizing all 3 waves to just slowly siege into LYN, but look.
White Lotus gonna be knocked up. Silence knocked around a little bit. The CC continuing to come out. Mystic now in the retreat. Giral coming in from the side. LYN will chase WE back. 957, the one who loses most of the HP there. But LYN does not want to chase it out any further. Genthix nearly taken down, also has to retreat back into the base, and the inhibitor turret will fall. The long siege from WE paying off now as Giral finds his way in onto Mystic, forcing out the ulti from the Xayah immediately. 957 still on the front line. Cask thrown out to try to disengage this one. They continue to look for more. White Lotus again, got to be so careful. Low on health, low on mana. Not really any way to stop this take, and the second inhibitor will fall.
So, WE finally take that second inhibitor down from LYN. Their defense is not strong enough to keep the LPL representatives out of their base. They also lose the tier 2 top lane tower. And now the Baron is respawning. The objectives for WE are so clear. They know exactly where to move around the map. And LYN, they're struggling to find the fights themselves. Because Oddie cannot get a successful flank off, it is very hard for them to really kick these fights off in their favor. Remember, a lot of the fights they were winning, again, was because WE were the ones starting things off, and then LYN could respond. But now everything is in WE's court. They're the ones controlling the side lanes. They're the ones with control over the vision, and they're the ones looking to take control over the Baron.
And you know, Bettius, we talked about how WE is the kind of team who plays safe, win behind. They're the kind of team that waits for their opponents to make a mistake, and now LYN may have made that mistake coming out this far. WE definitely not behind at this point in time, though. When they did feel like they were behind earlier, they waited for LYN to go for that Baron, and then they punished exactly what you would want to see out of a team that likes to play methodically like this. Now Baron and Elder going to be an issue again very soon. Elder not live yet, but Baron is on the table. LYN cannot afford to just give these away.
Now remember, the mid lane inhibitor has respawned. LYN, notice the Baron started. They have TP up, they're gonna force the fight.
Baron below half HP, but now it's gonna be GA diving into the fight with the package there into the back line. Now LYN's front line trying to tank up the carries on the side of Team WE, but GA's grabbing the rampage, one of the support player. Condi dropping next as Seiya tries to kite himself backwards. White Lotus potentially gonna be caught out here. The shutdown from Mystic. As LYN now losing that Kog'Maw means they have very little to resist the 4-man push of Team WE, Baron or not. The victory march is coming.
White Lotus was CC'd for so much of that fight. He could not output the damage. Seiya this late into the game could not match that of GA. WE play the fight beautifully, and they're going to take game 1 in the World Championship.
The home team makes their statement. It was a little bit rough getting here, but they have managed to close this game out 47 minutes in as the Nexus turrets fall, and WE will claim the first victory of Worlds 2017.